I think we'd have to be crazy not to be happy with Nigel Adkins as manager. I mean, people can, pick holes or point to recent managerial stats or perceived failures. I mean, I would say that you could point to reasons for each of those in some of his recent clubs. But I mean, to the difference between having someone with Ian Dawes' experience to someone with Nigel Adkins' experience is night and day. And, we quite often say that having someone as manager who has Tranmere in their blood or has a link to the club is important. And, here's someone who's from Birkenhead, who grew up not far from the ground, who played football for us for years, who has a clear affinity for the club, who speaks so from the heart about what it means to be leading us out at Prenton Park, and was a really positive, engaged figure on the touchline. This wasn't someone who was sat back and watching the game passively. He was animated and getting stuck in. And it was interesting to see, I thought, at the end of the game, is he going to come over to the fans? Will there be a replica of the fist pump? What's the Adkins approach to it? And it was quite an interesting one. I thought he kind of let the players all go out and clap the fans and take all of that in. And then there was just a kind of a clap around the stands from the touchline, which I actually thought was quite a nice thing to do. It felt like it was more, I want the players to take this in and to take the plaudits, and then I'll just give the fans my own kind of thank you, which I thought was nice. I mean, I don't. At the end of the day, it will come down to whether Adkins would want the job, whether we could afford what he would want to be paid. I'd like to think that even if we end up appointing a permanent manager, that Palios will try and get us recovered under this, stabilised under Adkins first. So I would have thought we won't hear a permanent manager appointment if it isn't Adkins for a few weeks. Maybe we could come to an arrangement where he stays to the end of the season, potentially, that he doesn't want it permanently, but he'll do it for the year, and then we see what happens next. And it gives us the time to think about where we want to go with that appointment. But I would certainly be delighted if we were to convince him to move back up here and be part of things for a few years to come. The only thing with that would be, I suppose, if we take a step back, is that the point of his role, and we can debate around whether it's more of a PR exercise to have Adkins involved a couple of days a week, or whether there is actually a real value to that technical director role and that he can bring something longer term to that, and he wants to be here for a few years in that role. But if he were to become manager full time, there's no chance he then goes back up, I wouldn't have thought, into a technical director role when inevitably we part ways with him as a manager at some point in the future. So there is that structural element of, because he's talked, I think it was quite interesting, there was a BBC radio interview where he talked about what his role actually was, and we've not really heard it articulated particularly, but he talked about how he was involved in leading reviews into certain things through the year. So they were about to embark on a review of the transfer strategy from the summer and what went right, what went wrong, which would have been, I'm sure, very interesting to go through, but that's been parked with him moving into the interim job. So I think, I would love to see Nigel wanting to stay and taking the job permanently. I've no real idea if that's realistic. My gut feeling would be not, but heart-wise, you never know what the pull may be. So I think let's watch this space. But I wouldn't have thought we'll see something for a few weeks either way, and probably won't hear an announcement for another month or so, one way or the other. I wouldn't have thought.